Hello again. The last couple of patches that I've done have been pretty much, there's been a lot going on, been creating a lot of different modulation and drum beats and everything with the Osiris. So I'm going to just try and keep it as simple as possible tonight. I'm just going to create a bass line and put it along with a very, very simple drum loop. And I just want to show you how I use the Constellation to get interesting drum patterns against my main bass. Or even lead for that matter, but I'm going to keep it simple and just use the bass today. So we'll be using Constellation, the Osiris bass only, and a filter. And we'll just try and keep it as simple as that. Maybe add a tiny bit of modulation from the Mimetic just so it doesn't get too boring. And then a tiny bit of melody from the Metropolix. Okay, so starting off, if we just take the sub out, you end up with a continuous tone, and the Osiris does not take account of the decay for the sub. So if we loop it through the sync Bacina and then ping the Bacina, that will give us our VCA that we need. So let's just take the sub here into the sync input, loop that through a filter, and then we'll take the filter out on channel 3 here. These are just wired up channels 1 to 4 because I usually use stereo 1 and 2 for lead and 3 and 4 as different bass lines for mono. So we'll just take channel 3 here out. And then if we ping the Bacina, which we can use the little button here. Okay, so now let's use the Constellation. I'm going to use channel 8 to keep it simple here. So we've got a kick on 1, we've got a simple hat on 4, and this will just help us get a little bit of rhythm in the bass line that we've got. So if we go off to channel 8 here, and then so we've got length 16, let's set 16 events so it's just constantly firing. Start the clock, 120 beats per minute. So the clock here is just clocking the Mimetic and Metropolix over here. So we've got a constant note coming out here. So let's send that into, let's get the right length cable. And then give that a kick. And there's about as simple a bass line as you can get. Now, nothing sounds very interesting on even numbers, but things get much more interesting on the odd numbers. So if we half this to 8, that's just twice the kick. 4 is the kick. Nothing exciting there. So 1, 2, and 4 are on beat with the kick, so they're no good. 8 is twice the kick. The interesting numbers would be 6, 10, 12 is 3/4, so it's probably going to give us a galloping. 14, 10 sounds pretty good. However, if we just go to 9, all of a sudden it sounds way better. So let's just add a little bit of modulation into our bass line, just so it doesn't get too boring and repetitive. Maybe modulate the filter as well. we go down to 7, it will kind of keep the same pattern but add a rest. And the fewer the notes, the longer we can add the release here. I'll just add that extra little step in. Maybe put a hat on there. So 15 is every note, but just one rest thrown in, and then back up to full 16. I think 9 is the sweet spot. Okay, let's throw a little bit of, throw at least a note in there. See, 12, just wrong. 11, okay. Seven's pretty good. Okay, let's try and make it let's try and compare the Mum-Mate to the Carbon. So at the moment we are modulating the filter cutoff. So let's move that over to the filter cutoff there. And we want output. So if we send the output from Carbon, we send, what have we got here? The input. So let's move that input over there. What is going on there? Oh, still needs to go through the sync Bacina. So out into the sync Bacina, and then into the Carbon. There we go. Then modulate the filter cutoff. There's just something about the Carbon. Maybe let's send the pitch into volts per octave. Add that note back in. Actually, no, I was liking 7. As we're going a bit full on here, right, let's send channel 5, let's send a gate into with the right length cable. Let's borrow that one. Let's send a gate into the Javelin and then take its envelope. And we'll use its envelope to modify that filter instead. And then, as I've done before and I love doing, we'll send the accent. The accent will fire when both of these are on. What can we send this to? Maybe send this to the X wave? What if we do something really crazy? Let's maybe take the output. Shouldn't really do this on a bass line, but let's see what happens. Let's kind of make this stereo. And then let's take, so what are we on? We are on low pass there. Let's change this to band pass. And then take the low pass to there. So we should be getting both now. Just put a tiny bit of delay on there. No, I like that 7 with a bit of a longer release. So dry, and then a bit of delay. No reverb on here. I don't think the reverb will work on this. Let's give it a go. Maybe on its own, but if you're using this as a bass line, it's probably better just keeping it reverb dry. Just a little bit of delay on there. Okay, maybe let's risk wave folding this. What about if we try some saturation just for fun? So let's just ping the saturation, see what happens. So what started off as a nice simple, this is how I'm going to make a bass line and get some interesting beats with the bass line, has turned into yet another carbon filter demo. Maybe that's because it's such a good filter. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty good. Just about there. And then what if we put some resonance on? Is that going to ruin it? Because with the wavefold on, as soon as you bring the resonance up, it kind of... try 9 notes again. No, really like 7. Just adding the rest in with a bit of a longer note, especially now we've got these tails coming off the filter and going through some decay. Yeah, I think we're going to leave it there. So an odd number of notes in a length of 16 is how I'm using it to drive triggers on Osiris. Rather than just using a nice simple gate here, we can get some much more interesting patterns out of the Constellation. So yeah, I'm really liking the Constellation. I'm going to be using it more and more. I'm only using it in a very simple way. You can chain, so for each of the different 8 channels that you've got here, you can overlay patterns on top of each other. I've had a bit of a play with it, but not too much at the minute. Just using it mostly as a gate sequencer at the minute, in a very simple way. So yeah, hope you like the video. There's not a lot out there on this at the minute. Red Means Recording, Jeremy's done a very good demo on this. If anyone's interested, if you haven't seen it, definitely go and check that out. But yeah, thanks for watching. Really enjoying just having the Osiris in the case. Really makes you think about what you're doing. And even in a case this big, just having one sound source and one effects unit really makes you think about what you got to do. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.